I'm good to get started.
Okay. I'm sure people will kind of trickle in as over the next like 2-3 minutes, anyways. So, hey everybody that is here. Welcome to Computer Club. Fill out attendance as usual. DSU or attendance.dsumcomputer.club. If you don't have it saved in your browser at this point, well. So, Raquel, if you just want to start sharing your screen, we can get started.
All right. All right. So, as announced, I will be presenting on Linux around the world.
Right. Stream looks good.
Okay. Yeah. And I have a link to the slides in the bottom left corner on these first few slides. So, if you want to access these slides, you can. And all of my sources are linked in the speaker notes for the slides. And you need to be signed into your DSU account to get the slides. So, Linux around the world. So for start out, generally Linux isn't widely used. As you can see, it's around 2% of the desktop shares around the world, the market share around the world for desktop. And then if we look at particular regions, it's about the same, with Asia and Europe being a little higher in using Linux. And now let's go into some specific versions of Linux. Here's a map with logos of all the Linux flavors we will get into. First, we'll start with Linux. It's an Ubuntu-based Linux distribution that was created by the city of Munich. And they did it because they wanted software independence and cost savings. It's currently not freely available, but some of its project tools are. The Linux project, it wasn't just making the OS, it was making some other things. So you could go to their GitHub to see those. Here's what the desktop looks like. So the story in more detail is in 2004, Windows NT was nearing the end of life, and Munich needed something new. So instead of continuing with Windows' next operating system, they decided to replace it with Linux over time, and they developed the Linux system. And then from 2006 to 2017, Linux was migrated to over time after its completion, and there were still other operating systems used by the city. And then a bit of a flip-flop occurred with, in 2017, the city decided to go back to Microsoft, but then switched course again in 2020 to continue migrating into Linux. All right, this next one is Vine Linux. It's a Japanese Linux distro, a fork of Red Hat Linux. It was started in 1998, and it hasn't been updated for 3 years. It was created to be a regular OS for Japanese users, and it's lightweight, it's localized to the kind of default settings Japanese users would usually have, and then Japanese is immediately available after install on it, which isn't always supported in Linux operating systems. For example, when I was looking up how to change the language to Japanese in Ubuntu, it's 8 steps, and it's definitely not immediately after install. This distro is free if you want to play with it. That's the download link, though I wasn't able to find the part on the download page where I download the thing, so you might need to do a bit more digging to find it. And here's how this desktop looks, just like before, another Linuxy looking thing. This next one is Pardus, which is a Linux distro from Turkey. As created by the government and for the focus on office work. There are corporate and community editions. It's currently a Debian fork, but it was originally a Gentoo fork. It used to have its own package manager called Pisi, which is the word for kitty in Turkish, but then it switched to apt. There is a branch off from Pardus called PisiOS that just maintains the Pisi packaging manager. And this is another free OS if you want to go download and play with it. Here's what its desktop looks like. Next one, Genbuntu. This one's from France. It's Ubuntu based. It was developed by France's National Gendarmerie, which is their military police force. It is not freely available. So it has a similar story to Linux. It was chosen in 2008 to cut costs, and Windows XP End of Life pushed its migration, and migration to it was complete in spring 2019. This next one is Kylin OS. It's from China. It's created by a university there. It's used by military and other government agencies. It was created for one reason, was for software independence from like Microsoft and other foreign peoples, which is a common theme we've seen so far, right, with the Linux and with the French operating system. So it's Ubuntu based, but it was originally FreeBSD based, and it's used in a lot of scenarios on desktops, on servers, and then it's also used on some supercomputers in China. And then there is the download link for that. It's another free one, and here's how it looks. This next one is newer. It only got a stable release within the past year or so. It's developed by the government of China with the goal of replacing Windows in the country. It's based on Deepin, which is another Chinese distro that's based on Debian. It supports Chinese-made processors, which is interesting, and that's another bit about trying to have independence from outside people, being able to do things on their own hardware. There are desktop and server versions of this. And then it's also another free thing. I found an article that sent you to a link on how to download it, and it was in Chinese, and I didn't want to mess around with the further instructions. So that's another one where you'll need to poke around a bit more if you want to go play with it. This is what it looks like. This next one, Astro Linux. It's a Russian distro developed for government use, for military and intelligence agencies in particular, and it's designed for high-level data protection. The special edition is supposed to be secure to the top secret Russian classified designation. It's Debian-based. It's, once again, something used to replace Windows systems in the government. There are two versions of it, the Common Edition, which is free, the Special Edition, which is not available, and this one has additional security features. There's a link to it if you want to go play with it. And I guess a general disclaimer about these things, I'm not sure how secure it is to play with distros from some of these governments, so do it at your own risk and probably do more research. This next one is Boss Linux, which is Bharat Operating System Solution. It was developed in India by the government for government use, again, for software independence from the outside, and it was made with the defense sector in mind. It's another Debian-based system. It has support for Indian languages, and it has 4 different versions, and it's another free thing you can go play with. And here's what it looks like. Red Star from North Korea, so yes, very interesting. It was leaked online in 2014, so technically it's free to use, but it's very sketch. Its basic features are, it's only in Korean, it has a mid-2000s Mac user interface, and it has, I will not say this correctly, Nyanara, a Firefox-based browser on it. But then there's also some sketch features. The system protects itself from user changes, so disabling antivirus or firewall on it can cause error or reboot. Kernel modules are untouchable by user space. The root user cannot load or modify the modules. It watermarks files with an ID when they are open, so the government can track who's doing what with what files. And then also it will automatically delete files with disallowed content with things considered anti-government. And there's actually a really cool Wild West Hacking Fest talk that is linked there, where someone talks about the state of technology in North Korea based on the OSINT people have been able to do, and he talks about Red Star a bit in there. All right, this last one is Linux in space, because we can't just be around the world, we must be flying around the world. So SpaceX's Falcon 9 uses a very stripped down version of Linux, and the International Space Station uses Linux for its critical systems, while it uses Windows for non-critical things. So final thoughts on all that. There are many flavors out there, which I was aware of before, but now I know more of them. People like their software independence. That's a reason for a lot of these countries to make their own things. Local language support is very good. That's another reason this popped up a lot with the Chinese distros. They were made with language support in mind, with the Japanese distribution, with the Indian distribution. And last thought is North Korea scares me. That is all I have prepared. Does anyone have questions or anything they would like to add to this?
I learned that the world does not like Bill Gates. They don't like Microsoft.
I think I found that download link that works for Vine.
Okay,
I'll just throw it in general, I guess.
Okay, and I can update the slide decks with that.
It looks like it works because there's mirrors on there too for people to download from.
Okay.
It's all in Japanese, of course, so you're gonna either have to use the Google Translate or however you wish to read.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of Google Translate was used in the making of this presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry that this was shorter today.
I wonder if like the Chinese Linux distros have that kind of government tracking stuff that the North Korean distro has.
Yeah, I do not know. Like, I know someone who downloaded like some office software from a Chinese company that explicitly said in its terms of service that it did send some information off. So he did have it in a lockdown state, as you do.
Yeah. Well, very cool.
Yeah, and there was more things I could have put up there if I took more time. There's so many Linux distros in the world.
I wonder if some of the distros, like particularly like the China ones, do like callbacks to the government.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like,
or even
they
North
can't
Korea.
not. I mean, North Korea, 100%.
I mean,
100%.
Probably, yeah. I wonder what the Indian one looks like, if it does like any sketch things.
Well, if anyone else has questions, feel free to stick around or comments. Otherwise, yeah, that's pretty much it. Don't forget to fill out attendance.dsucomputer.club, and see you